Joining us now live on the John Fredericks Radio Network, Dave Bossie. Dave, again, the author, best-selling, New York Times. He's a best-selling author now. Guy's like does everything. Now he's a best-selling author. Let Trump Beat Trump. That was our first book on the campaign. New York Times bestseller list. Now the must-read of all time, Trump's Enemies by Corey Lewandowski and Dave Bossie. Dave serving as the deputy campaign manager for the Trump for President campaign. I was the chairman of Virginia, and even though we lost Virginia, we came within 4.5 points. And during the campaign, Dave only fussed at me one time. So I think that's pretty good because Dave's pretty tough, and he's with us now. Dave Bossie. Dave, thanks for being with us, man.
Hey, good morning. Clearly, I wasn't tough enough. If you can only remember one time, John, that's a problem.
I know. You only fussed at me once that I can remember. Now, there might have been other times behind the scenes, but I only got the phone call one time. And I said to myself after that phone call, I'm like, I don't want to get another one of those phone calls. So I think I'm going to do exactly what he says.
And we lost Virginia, so.
I know, right?
Somebody's to blame, and I'm not sure who.
Well, look, we made Biden and Tim Kaine had to come to Virginia on Monday instead of going to Wisconsin or Milwaukee or Pennsylvania.
Or Philadelphia, absolutely.
Yeah, they had to.
We were thinking of it too.
We tied them up, so I'll put that feather in my cap, Dave. But look, Trump's Enemies. I mean, this is a must-read for anybody. You can buy it on B. Dalton, your favorite bookstore. You can go to Amazon, or you can just go to my website, johnfredericksradio.com. Boom. It's right there. You can just click on it, buy it. You're good to go. Dave, we were a major, major advocate of you being chief of staff. I'd like to see you go in the White House. Any chance of that happening? I know you feel that you can serve the president best on the outside, but I saw what you did on the inside. Any chance that you might go in there and maybe straighten this out?
Well, John, I appreciate the kind words, and I appreciate the confidence, and I do, and just like everybody inside the White House, you serve at the pleasure of the White House, which means he can bring anybody in he wants. It's his decision. I am not looking for a job. I'm the president of Citizens United, and I'm on Fox News, and I'm writing books, and I'm having a great time helping the president from the outside. But if he chooses that he needs me to come on the inside, I'm open to helping him in whatever capacity he thinks is best. And so if that's coming on the inside and helping him get this White House in order, then I think that's a fine place for me to be. But I'm not the person to make that call, and I'm not out there advocating myself or anything. I just think that I'm happy to help him. He needs good people, who support his agenda around him, and that's what we've been lacking for the last 2 years. We've had a lot of that infighting that has not been beneficial to the president, but more importantly to the American people and to the agenda that got him elected in the first place.
I think you're right. There's no question that he campaigned on an agenda. And it's amazing, isn't it, Dave Bossie, that when the president actually attempts to implement the campaign promises he made, that Washington is shocked to all hell. I mean, they just can't believe it. Whether it's Syria.
Look, this is why we call it the swamp. That's why the American people fundamentally distrust and dislike politicians. Why? Because they run around your state, your district, the country, and they make these promises. They make promise after promise, and nobody actually believes them. Nobody actually believes they're going to do what they say or say what they mean. And that's the difference here. Is you have a guy who's not a career politician. He is still an outsider, and that's what gets them. He says what he means and means what he says, and that's the difference maker. And that's why Washington continuously gets shocked. Is he lives up to the promises that he made to people, and that's a fundamental difference between him and the Nancy Pelosi, the crying Chuck Schumers of the world. They don't care. Everything's about politics to them. This guy just wants to make a difference every day. He wants to make things better every day. And he doesn't really even care, who gets the credit. I know the left loves to think that that's not true, but it is true.
And you know what's amazing is the hand-wringing that goes on in this town, Dave Bossie, every time the president attempts to implement a campaign promise. I mean, two examples now where he campaigned for 2 years on building a wall. Now, everybody's shocked that he's actually holding to that. He campaigned for 2 years on getting out of these foreign entanglements in the Middle East, especially getting out of Syria, which he said made no sense. And like you said the other day, we were supposed to be there for 6 months. We've been there for an extended period of time. It's time to get out. We have no more mission there. And yet everybody's going absolutely ballistic over it, like this was some iconoclastic decision he made on his own. He campaigned on it, Dave, for 2 years.
Look, there are good arguments, and there's a great debate to be had over the content of the decision to get into Syria, to get out of Syria. There are good people on both sides of this issue. Military experts, strategic advisors, of the president that are on both sides of this issue. We're good men and women all. But the president gets to make the decision. That's the difference, is that it's his call. And only in this administration do you have a situation where these people think that they can undo a president's decision, or that they can, in effect, stop his decision. Presidents make the decisions, and the rest of us implement them. That's what it's about. He got 60+ million votes. Nobody else did. Mm-hmm. So it is a situation where he's not being served by folks who want to undercut him. And you get these generals who, these retired guys, who, again, can think that there's, reasons for us to be in places. But it just is, it's not the right way to go about the business of running this government. And having, the McChrystals of the world and the, and even the Mattises of the world, speak out against the president. I mean, it's one thing to advise him behind closed doors, and he wants to hear all sides of the issue. He does, and he wants everybody's input. But then it's decision time, and it's one person who gets to make the decision, and that's where we have, a problem consistently, inside this White House.
John Fredericks Radio Network, trucking the truth across America. We're live in the swamp. As always, we're with Dave Bossie. Dave is the president of Citizens United. He was the deputy campaign manager for the Trump for President campaign in the general election. He engineered that campaign to victory, as you know, the big upset. Also, Dave is a best-selling author, New York Times best-selling author. 2 books, Let Trump Beat Trump, that was number 1. Trump's Enemies just came out about a month ago. Absolute must-read. There's an interview in there that Dave Bossie and Corey Lewandowski do with the president in the Oval Office that is just a classic. Have to buy it, have to read it. You get it at Amazon, B. Dalton, or just go to my website, johnfredericksradio.com, and the book is right there. You can just click on it. You're good to go. Dave, you've advised the president for a long time. Certainly during the campaign, you were there for some of the toughest times, as we all remember. If you were in the White House right now and you were advising the president and you were, say, had a chief of staff type role, strategic advisor, you're on the phone with Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi. They're taking power today and they're saying not a dime for the wall, nothing, zero, jump in a lake. What would your advice be to the president and also back to the Democrats?
The first thing I would do is ask, Senator Schumer and Nancy Pelosi what it is they want in return for money for the wall. Because, the reality is they don't care about our budget deficits. They don't care about, the fiscal side of the ledger, the spending side. They just spend like drunken sailors always have. But I would ask them, what does it require for the president to get this? What is it that you want? What is on your wish list? Because that's how conversations get started. And if you can get to a place where you can find some common ground on other issues that they want, that's one way to go. That's the carrot aspect. Mm-hmm. I would have that on one side of the ledger, and on the other side, I would have the stick, which is I would tell Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, and specifically Chuck Schumer, that unless something happens, with not only the funding for the wall, but for the folks that he's holding in the Senate for confirmation process, and all of the other things that he's doing to create problems inside the Senate. I would tell him that his beloved tunnel between New York and New Jersey is not happening.
Right.
He is made that the hallmark of his career.
Right.
And I would tell him that, I can't stop the money from being budgeted into the budget, but I can stop it from being spent. And that is true. And so you have to play both sides. You have to try to get in a positive way, because I think if we can make a couple of positive deals, and look, it's ridiculous to think, to be honest with you, I'm offended that you even have to say the words, we have to negotiate for our border security. It's offensive. It really is. It's ridiculous. However, that's the situation that the president's in. And so I would try to make a deal with these guys. And if there's no opportunity to get a deal, then you go the other direction, which is you have to make them feel the pain of the legislative process that they're using against you. And there's ways for the president to weigh in as well, and hold everything up in the Senate. If it gets back to gridlock in Washington, and that's an unfortunate situation.
Well, gridlock when the government is shut down and you can't get basic border security is really a problem. And the Democrats yesterday chortling and saying the wall is immoral, yet every one of them have a wall around their homes or their gated communities. Kind of laughable to me.
It's okay for them.
Yeah, it's okay for them. That's the double standard.
Be ridiculous. They need their own safety and security, but they just don't care about anybody else's. That's look. At the end of the day, it's mind-boggling to me that we're having this debate. There are Democratic members of the House and Senate who say we need open borders. We need sanctuary cities. We need to continue our broken chain migration. We need to continue the broken lottery system. We need to just everything as is working. There's no problems here. Everyone in America understands that there's big time problems, in America, and a lot of them are caused by the scourge of drugs and human trafficking and those things come from our open borders policies, mm-hmm. our sanctuary cities policies. Mm-hmm. You look at the police officer that was killed on Christmas Day. Mm-hmm. When is enough? How many more Kate Steinleys do we need to have? Across America, it happens mm-hmm. all the time, and we just keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result, and that's what this president's about. So that's where we are. Hey, John, I got to jump here. I'm sorry, I got to go. I got another interview at 9, so I apologize. I got to get out of my car.
Dave Bossie, I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time today on the John Fredericks Radio Network. Dave Bossie, former deputy campaign chairman for the Trump for President campaign, general election president of Citizens United, co-author, best-selling book. You want to buy that, right? So you can just go to my website, Trump's Enemies, and you're good to go.